Is there his echo?
Yes, so we are live.
Okay.
And we're here with Boris. And if you were at the last class, I'm sure you will know that was last Friday. I'm sure you will know that this one is such an amazing time. All right, Boris has been here before, last Friday, sharing with us on strategies, tips and strategies before you send your child abroad. We saw that it was such an amazing conversation. So we decided that we were going to bring you, Boris, again to do a masterclass. This time around, Boris is going to be here by himself going through this whole conversation. All right, so Boris was an international student at the age of 16. And fast forward to today, Boris is now an award-winning educator, entrepreneur, speaker, and best-selling author. He has supported more than 1,000 international students who have had a strong desire to pursue their dreams, life in Canada. So if you're thinking of sending your child to Canada to school, this is where you should be. So over the years, many have asked him to share strategies, tactics, habits for personal and professional growth, which motivated him to publish his very first book called Start Right, Success Habits for International Students, which became a bestseller college guide on Amazon. So you're welcome, Boris, and I'm going to stay out of the studio and let Boris teach us because I also want to learn. All right. Thank you so much for doing this, Boris.
Fantastic. Well, it's my pleasure. So you can see me, you can see the presentation, correct? Wonderful. So let's dive into this. So Wendy and I were talking and we had this amazing conversation just a week ago about, well, what do parents need to know before they send their child to study abroad? And my expertise is in Canada, and Canada being the destination that is among the top ones in the world right now. But I think the things I'm going to share with you over the next half an hour, 40 minutes or so will be really, really relevant whether you're thinking about Canada or in any other country. Okay, sounds good. And so you're probably wondering why this is important, especially right now. Well, it is really important because the world has changed. The world has changed overnight. And so now from, well, I guess parents and children would need to adapt. And the fact that traditional education is not necessarily working the way it used to work, there's no guarantees of going through a degree that there will be some particular employment outcome. And it is really important to have this conversation right now because studying abroad is not for everyone. I have to be completely honest. During my time working with students from all around the world, with students from Nigeria, I've discovered that this is not a path for everyone. And in order to be successful, you need to be prepared. And so during this masterclass, I will be sharing some tips, strategies. I will be unpacking some secrets for you here because I want you to be prepared. A decision to go and study abroad is an important decision. It's a life-changing decision that can go either direction, right? And in my time, I have seen students and families fail, and I don't want my students to fail. And that's why I feel it's my moral obligation to share everything I know with you during this masterclass and then subsequent Q&A session, so you feel equipped and you feel prepared. And whichever decision you will make, this will make you have all the information necessary to make the right decision. Okay, so that's quite important to know. What is also really important right now, why this is important right now, is because there is a lot of fraud when it comes down to going and studying abroad. And the fraud happens at a number of levels. It happens it is so important to be aware and alert about the type of people you work with on this journey, the type of consultants and agents you work on this journey, because I have personally seen families being betrayed and families being, I guess I would say, being sold short on what they've been promised. And this happens not only by the agents, but also it happens by the educational institutions. And so I do want you, as we go through this training, to develop critical thinking and be ready to ask the right questions, and whether those are the questions to the educational institutions, where you want to send your child to, or those being the agents who are playing an important role in facilitating that transition from where you're at right now in your home country to where you want to see your child being in the future. And so it is so important that the government of Canada actually published a full website talking about being aware of fraud when preparing to come to Canada. And I think this is something that you need to be alert when it comes down to selecting the right program and the right partner to guide you through this process. But it's also so significant that even some students, some international students, have had to start a legal case against some institutions when they were promised one thing, but in fact those expectations are not being delivered by the school. And so that is something quite significant, and I feel really upset when families invest so much, not only financial resources but emotional resources as well in this transformative journey. I truly believe that going and studying abroad is a true transformation, and it's a transformation of a character. It's a transformation of the mindset, and I know that it can go either direction, right? And you need to know and be equipped with strategies and tips to actually send your child on this journey, right? And so when and I've been a recruiter, I've seen that. I've seen the schools promising the students, it's very fun and exciting experience with, giving a high five, but nobody's actually talking about the downsides of studying abroad and the potential challenges of studying abroad. And I'll be talking about this in this presentation. And so when one would be thinking about going and studying abroad and having this comfortable lifestyle, that's not necessarily the case. And surely more recently, some Canadian media actually published few articles about mental health of international students and also the living conditions of international students. So I do want you to think through all of these elements as you prepare a plan. Everything needs a plan, right? And so going and studying abroad requires a plan, and part of this plan, I believe, requires a change of mindset. It requires development of certain habits before going and studying abroad, and while you're studying abroad, and when you just start studying abroad. And also you need to have the right guidance, the right mentorship, the right support. This is kind of the formula to success when it comes down to studying abroad. So my goal today, I kind of touched on this today already in the beginning of this presentation. I want you as parents and maybe students who are listening to us today to be really prepared, to be really alert, to be excited about going and studying abroad, but also being equipped with a knowledge that will set yourself up for success, because it does get really competitive as well, and you need to see beyond of, well, I have so much money saved, what do I do with this and what program do I choose for my child? I think you need to look at this as a journey. And for me, this journey of being an international student, being a global citizen, it's lasted for 16 years and it's not over, right? And I'm still developing and growing and asking myself questions. What else should I do as a parent now as well? I have a child. What else do I need to do? So that journey, that international student, that global citizen journey continues to be meaningful for me and meaningful for other people who actually embark on this journey, okay? So you're probably wondering, Wendy, you have done a fantastic job doing an introduction, but I think it would be injustice to continue with my teaching without actually spending a couple of minutes talking about myself. And you're probably wondering, well, why should you trust Boris? Who's this guy talking about education abroad? Well, I am now a proud Canadian. I hold a Canadian passport. I became Canadian 5 years ago, but prior to this, I was a citizen of Kazakhstan. And that's where my international student journey began. I had a passport of a developing country, and I definitely wanted to have, and my parents for sure wanted to have a passport of a developed country, a passport that allows you to be mobile around the world, allows you to work and pursue the best opportunities, whether it's in this economy, in Canada, in this country, or anywhere else in the world. And as a matter of fact, holding a Canadian passport, it opens a tremendous opportunity for work opportunities, especially if you're under 35. There are a list of countries that would issue you a work visa that for up to 3 years, which you can use to work in countries like Australia or France, and even the United States through the NAFTA agreement. That's also a possibility, right? It's quite exciting. So that's kind of one piece about me. The other part about me, my academic background comes from being educated in 3 top academic institutions in Canada. I came here to finish grade 11 and 12 at Bodville High School, which is the top boarding school in Vancouver. It's a top international boarding school in Vancouver, where I did my high school graduation. Subsequent to this, I applied and was accepted to a number of post-secondary institutions, but my selection fall on doing a Bachelor's of Commerce from the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. That's the Sauder School of Business, where I graduated with distinction. And more recently, I did my MBA from the Schulich School of Business at York University. Schulich and Sauder are among the best, among the top schools and business schools in Canada, and among the best ones in the world. And I'm very privileged to have gone through the traditional education in these schools and have graduated with distinction. More professionally speaking, I had the opportunity to actually work at all these 3 institutions. I worked at Bodville High School with summer programs and high school as student admissions. I traveled around the world. I recruited students to study in high school program. I have seen that transition from a home country to boarding school in Canada. I worked in the Career Development Center at the Sauder School of Business, so I worked with students who wanted to transition from university to workforce. And also I've been a director of admissions and making the decisions on scholarships and admissions to one of the top competitive schools in the country. So I did that being a member of the Schulich School of Business. I also worked in consulting and then spent some time working for Deloitte Consulting, traveling around North America, advising universities and colleges on what do they need to do to improve international student experience. So these are my academic and professional credentials. I've been very privileged to be nominated and awarded as an award-winning educator and marketer for British Columbia, and that's a peer-nominated award. And I've also been featured in a number of publications. I spoke at a number of conferences, and I have appeared on media talking about international education and talking about how international students can better experience, have a better student experience, how parents can support their children. This is my area of expertise. I am a triathlete. I compete. I enjoy traveling around the world, and I have a wonderful family. I have a wife who just recently became a Canadian, and I have a Canadian-born son, Mark, who's starting school this September, right? And finally, one other thing that what I truly believe in is really study abroad is a transformative experience. And I also have founded a scholarship where I send Canadian students to go and study abroad. This is a few things about me. So when I talk about my achievements and I talk about my personal journey, many people ask a question, well, Boris, what is your secret formula to win in all areas of life? And in order to answer these questions, to give you this secret formula, we need to travel back a little bit in time and kind of see where it's all where it all have started. And so for me, that has started with a summer program experience. I had 2 summer program experiences, one in the United Kingdom. I went for 8 weeks during the summer between grade 9 and 10, or between grade 8 and 9 probably. And then I went to France in the subsequent summer between grade 9 and 10 to learn, in the first case, to learn and improve English, in the second case, to learn and improve my French, and in both cases, to learn what it's like to be independent from my parents, maybe not financially, but definitely emotionally and physically being independent is a big component of being a successful international student. I had an IELTS score in one hand, so my English was not perfect. And after experiencing the United Kingdom and France, the decision kind of fell on Canada for a number of reasons. It's a bilingual country, it's a multicultural country, and most importantly, it's a country that allows you to become a permanent resident and then subsequently citizen after studying and working in Canada. And so that was obvious. You can see my one-way ticket here on the screen. And my parents have never been to Canada, so I had no family, no friends in Canada, obviously no network, no experience, and no personal savings. And for me, that was quite difficult. It was definitely a challenge. I appreciate my parents being very brave and courageous for sending their eldest son on this journey to discover Canada. Subsequently to my life in Canada, my middle brother also followed my steps and came to Canada. He also lives in Toronto right now and pursuing his career. But that's good to be this. It's good to blaze this trail and then have other people, to follow that path. And very much this is kind of the reason why we're talking about this. When I first came, I didn't know what to do and how to do it. And I wish there was somebody who have blazed this trail as a student, as a parent, who could share it. And that's why we're talking here today. Okay. And so as I embarked on this journey of going for more of a long-term academic program as opposed to summer program, I had a strong desire to be independent, to have a fun student experience, to start making my own money, to change my country of residence. Obviously, Kazakhstan was not the country with the greatest standards of living and security and you name it. And so changing the country of residence was my aspirations, but also an aspiration of my parents when I was 16. And finally, I wanted to make my parents proud. They were making a big emotional and financial investment into me. And so I did have a strong desire to make my parents proud. But I didn't know what to do in order to turn my dreams, which I just shared with you, into reality. And so what happened to me, just within the first 2 weeks when I came to Canada, two things happened that hit me really, really hard. And I could, I had a choice, and I'll share what happened to me. I had a choice. I could either tuck my tail between my legs and kind of say, studying abroad is not for me, I'll go back home, or I could stand up for myself, persevere, and really figure it out, what it takes to be, what does it take to be a successful international student or foreign student. And the two things that have happened in my life, I would share with you, was quite transformative. The one thing that happened to me is that I was misjudged as an international student, and that does happen quite frequently. Canadians are wonderful people. They're accepting, they're open-minded, relatively speaking, to maybe some other countries, but there is still misjudgment. There is still stereotypes that exist in any country. And so I was, in my first 2 weeks, I was misjudged as an international student based on my accent, based on my appearance, and that was quite difficult. It upset me quite a bit. And the second thing happened to me, I encountered some nasty people, let's call them this way. I got hunted down by a gang, which ended up actually chasing me down on the beach one night. Long story short, there was some miscommunication, and that I came kind of with a friend also from Kazakhstan, and she kind of told her boyfriend that I was flirting with her, but in fact that was not true. That was some miscommunication. He ended up being a part of the gang, and that's turned into a very, very nasty, very, very high pressure environment for me, and I didn't really know how to handle it. So this kind of the picture of me recalling sitting on the bench on the other side of Vancouver, kind of crying and trying to see, well, what should I do? What can I do to stand up for myself and to be successful? And definitely when I was sitting on that bench, there was no book, no guide, no guidebook that would actually walk me through the steps of what does it take to be successful as an international student. And back then, sitting on that bench 16 years ago, I kind of made this commitment that once I go through this journey, it will be my moral obligation to package everything in this 139-page manual and talking about, well, what habits, what mindset, and what type of mentorship you need to be successful. And so in this book, I share a 10-step start right framework to effectively study, successfully work, and comfortably live in Canada permanently. Because many parents, as I've traveled around the world, have asked me this question. It's like, Boris, well, what does it take to be a successful student, successful employee, and a successful resident of Canada? And I kind of broke it into 10-step framework that I have followed that had really worked for me, and it did certainly work for a lot of people, a lot of students and families that I work with. And so I will share this, and I'll take a couple of minutes to kind of share this framework with you at a very high level. But this entire book, this entire guide is really based on this framework that will allow you to start at any of these levels, depending where you're at, and really, follow step by step to get to this ultimate goal of being a successful international student. And I'll share that framework with you right now. So what I believe in, to become an effective student, you definitely need to be proficient in English and or French. I mean, Canada is a bilingual country. Knowing English or knowing French or knowing both is definitely a great asset. And so, I understand, and I worked with a lot of students from Nigeria, English being the primary language. I recognize that, but there is a bit of a, there is an opportunity to learn and add French, but there is also an opportunity to learn and improve English in the context of academic setting. And that does require some attention and some resources. For example, there are two really great books. One of them is called On Writing Well. It's a short book, but it actually talks about how to write well in English in an academic setting. And that would be kind of the foundation, so foundation of having strong English, foundation of having some French or learning French is what I believe is a foundation of my framework. The second thing, what is required is to go and study abroad for a short period of time. Well, I guess in the context of what's happening in the world, that would be whenever it is safe to do so. I do recommend, especially for younger audience, to go and spend 1 to 3 months practicing language skills and independence, which could mean to go on a short academic program at one of the universities or colleges or boarding schools to really experience this independence, living away from parents, looking after yourself. And this is a good transition, good process, I guess, good transition, both for the child and both for the parents, in like kind of acquiring this independence and separating from each other, because that could get quite emotional if you send your child to study abroad for long term right away. I've seen that. The next step would be applying and getting admitted into academic program in Canada. The application process is competitive, and that does require some investment and understanding what does it take to get into a dream school. The next level would be building a network and a personal brand once you're already studying or just even ahead of your studies, to get a part-time job and or internship. And finding a part-time job and or internship during your studies is so critical to landing a permanent job. And the next step would be actually using the experience of a part-time job and or internship to land a full-time job, which actually is a good fit and pays well. And that's important to do it, in my opinion, before you even graduate, because the next step would be successfully finish the program and applying to a postgraduate work permit. A postgraduate work permit in the context of Canada, it's something that many international students take advantage from, because it allows you to work up to 3 years after completing an academic program in Canada. And it's a fantastic tool to actually apply your knowledge from a Canadian institution in the Canadian workforce. Then what I believe is quite important, and I practiced this while I was studying, I went on exchange, and this is something I recommend to students as well, is to travel across in Canada and maybe internationally to develop global perspectives, because global perspectives are so critical these days. And it is important in the context of multinational corporations as well. Once you have some work experience, that is a prerequisite to applying for and becoming a permanent resident of Canada. Once you live in Canada for a period of time, this makes you eligible for Canadian citizenship. And ultimately, once you have a Canadian citizenship, it gives you an opportunity to become a contributing member of the Canadian society, but also of a global society. And that could mean coming back back to your home country and giving back to your home country, volunteering. It could be to go to any other country on a Canadian citizenship, or being a dual citizenship, as a dual citizen, for example, and really being a contributing member of a global society. And this is something I genuinely believe, and this is what I kind of unpack step by step in the book with actionable exercises and recommendations. What also kind of came into place is that this book comes with a portal. I have built a portal with a lot of valuable resources on how to apply for scholarships and how to get into Dream School, how to pick the right agent. So we talked about the importance of selecting the right agent in the beginning of that workshop. And so that's something that also comes together with the book. And so just as I share this framework with you, what I think is that, what is my success formula? Well, my success formula includes three pillars. First is the mindset. Second thing is habits. And third thing is mentor. And what I would say in mentorship, and this is something that I've practiced on each and every single level of this framework, of this ladder, is that in order to go from one level to the next level in that ladder or in your life, you need to have the right mindset, or you need to shift your mindset to be successful. You need to develop the right habits at the next level, habits that will take you to the next level. And finally, you need to have someone or work with someone like a mentor, a coach, or advisor who have gone through this journey, who already blazed this trail, who can actually accelerate this for you and share do's and don'ts to get you there faster. And so I guess, let me ask a question here to the audience we have. So what I want to do, and I want you to hear from you whether this is something that you actually want to know, is who wants to know the 3 dirty secrets of studying abroad that nobody actually tells you? Okay, so let me see. Let me actually go back here and see. So, well, we have quite a few participants here. Okay, I would. I'm sure there are a number of you who are eager to know what are these 3 dirty secrets. Well, let me dive into them. So what's something that fascinates me about studying abroad is everybody talks about the ultimate, the wonderful future, right? The opportunities that study abroad brings to you. And that's certainly something I've done in the last 15 minutes or so of my presentation, right? But I want to dive now into 3 dirty secrets of studying abroad that nobody actually tells you. And so here's the 3 secrets. Actually, I'll go one by one and actually give some examples. So there will be 3 secrets. Let's start with secret number 1. So the secret number 1 is that even if your child gets into a school of his choice, it does not mean that he or she will graduate. I want to kind of repeat this one more time. Even if your child gets into a school of his or her choice, it does not mean that he or she will graduate. Well, let me kind of tell you more about this, why I believe this, and why I think it's important for you to have that clarity, because I keep on hearing and keep on seeing parents and students saying, well, as long as I get into this school, it's all fine, I will graduate. Well, this is not true. And this is very not true in the context of studying in Canada, because it's highly competitive. There are certain challenges, and I'll share these with you. But it's not about just getting in. It's about figuring out what it takes to actually successfully graduate. And nobody's going to drag you through this program just for the benefit of you being enrolled in this program. Well, I guess some programs may do that just for the pure revenue benefits, but that's ultimately not maybe the schools that you want to be in. So let me now give you an example why I believe so. So when I was early in my presentation, I told you about my quite frustrating, quite stressful start of my international student journey. And so I was sitting on this bench crying, being all stressed, and I was thinking, well, what could I do? I mean, I could call my parents and ask them for help, but I don't think that would have been very practical. And I was thinking, well, what do I need to do? And obviously, as a newcomer, I needed a mentor. And so I had the courage to go to the principal's office. This is Mr. Smith on the left-hand side, you can see. And I went to his office and said, "Dear Mr. Smith," who is the principal of the school, "I need a mentor. I need someone to help me, improve my English, to help me get into the school of my dream. I need some guidance. Would you be willing to be my mentor?" And I think he was so shocked by my bravery, my courage, and he gladly agreed to actually work with me, because I don't think anybody have went to the principal's office and asked to mentor them. And so Mr. Smith and I have started working day in and day out. He started taking me to public speaking competitions, which I participated gladly. It wasn't easy, but that was surely a path for me to improve my English, and it was surely a fantastic investment of my mentor to guide me on what does it take to be successful. And so because of those experiences, my English have significantly improved. I have developed a portfolio that was necessary to apply to the school, and I got an endorsement from the principal, which allowed me to actually get into the school of my dream, which was the University of British Columbia, and was even nominated for a leadership scholarship, which was fantastic. And this is all based on finding the right mentor who knows how the system works, and asking him or her to actually coach you and guide you through this journey. And so for my case, that was Mr. Smith. And so as I started the university, I definitely felt like an awkward turtle. Now I was in a different level. I was not in a boarding school with a mentor. I was now at a next level. I was in the top school in Canada. There was 800 applications for one single seat, and so I was one of 800 to get into this school. And so obviously I was among the best and the brightest in Canada, and I was feeling like an awkward turtle in this environment, because I was completely different, completely novice for me. As I started studying, I studied for 12 hours for 6 days a week. I was spending days in and days out in the library trying to cram all the information into my head, which didn't work well. I obviously wanted to have a fun university experience, so when I was not in the library, I was partying and meeting new friends. Because I didn't know what it's like to be independent, I gained weight, and that wasn't right, because I was eating convenience food. I wasn't really cooking for myself, and obviously because I didn't know how to manage my priorities, I ran out of my pocket money. But the biggest problem happened when I came to my room one day, and my roommate, who definitely partied more than me and spent less time in the library, was asked to leave. He was kicked out from the university because of his attendance and his academic performance, and that alerted me quite much, because that was surely the path that I was heading with my academic experience. And so here's something that I want to bring to your attention, for you to actually ask this right question and be alerted, is that in some cases, in some of the institutions in Canada, there is less than half of students who actually start the program will graduate. And this is quite alarming. So if you look at the class of 100 students who are going to be starting their program this September, in person or online, doesn't really matter. It means that only half of them will actually graduate. And I can surely agree with the statistics, because some students, because they don't know how to change their mindset, because parents don't know how to support them, because they don't know how to get mentored, or they don't have the right habits, they're being kicked out from the university. And then back at that time, I would start feeling anxious about my academic experience. And so to add to this, my paper was flagged for plagiarism, and that's something that universities take very, very seriously. And so I had to defend myself in front of the university academic court that I was innocent, that I didn't plagiarize on my paper, and that caused a lot of stress. But this was all as a result of me not knowing what it's like to be what it takes to be a successful student. And so that was kind of adding up to this problem. And I started looking for solutions. You know, you hit this wall. My first big wall was when I first came. This was my second big wall. I got into this dream school. I thought that just getting into the school and just, you know, I would be able to blaze through this university experience and just graduate. I realized that this is not going to happen. I could easily get kicked out and being sent back to Kazakhstan, and this is not something that I really wanted. So I started looking for solutions, and I started reading self-help books. I attended personal development seminars. I worked with an advisor, but nothing happened overnight. So I kept on looking. I started asking for questions. Well, where is the solutions? What do I need to do to get back on track to graduate? So I got in, but now how do I graduate? How do I have a great university experience, get good grades, and make my parents proud? And what came to my attention was an invitation, or I guess a challenge from a friend who said, Boris, you should go outside your comfort zone and you should do 5 days for the homeless challenge. And so what was that challenge? That was challenged by the business students to fundraise money for youth at risk. And so the rules of the challenge required it to attend all classes and complete all assignments. So I had to perform academically well. I had to exercise and eat healthy during these 5 days. I had to set and manage boundaries with people around me, well, namely with my parents, who were very shocked about me taking this challenge, that they didn't understand what it does mean to sleep on the streets for 5 days. And I slept on the streets of the university campus, so that was safe. The next thing was I had to lead by example and inspire others. And in my case, I already had a part-time job, so I had to continue working my part-time job. So I couldn't really just just take this challenge without actually continue performing at the top of the level in other areas. And so here's the picture from a university newspaper, where you'll see myself and a few other people who did this challenge with me, and we were all featured in the newspaper because we fundraised over $6,000 for youth at risk. And in my case, what became quite important, this challenge forced me to change my mindset. It forced me to change my habits, because I was outside of my comfort, going to my dorm back and forth. And I also was very fortunate to build a relationship with Connor, that's the gentleman in the middle, who became my mentor. He was in the 4th year. He was 4 years ahead of me. He went through the university experience, just about to graduate. He was super successful. He was the leader of student organization, and we became very close, and he shared a few tips and strategies and secrets with me on what does it take to be successful as a student. And I'm really grateful that he actually did this with me during this 5-day challenge. As I went through this challenge, I started getting better grades, making friends, losing weight, and feeling happier. And ultimately, I earned my $2,000 working at my part-time job. And so once again, I want you to understand that there is this misconception or this myth about studying abroad, that as long as you get into the school, you will graduate. Well, that's not true. But I want you to believe and to understand that in order to be successful, you need to have the right mindset, you need to have the right habits, and you need to have a mentor who can actually guide you through this journey. The second secret I'll share with you today in the time we have available, that even if your child graduates with excellent grades, it does not mean that he or she will get a job. So let me repeat this one more time. Even if your child graduates with excellent grades, right, it does not mean that he or she will get a job. And that's important, because the transition from university to workforce in Nigeria, right, might work very differently. Well, mostly because parents have connections, they have networks, they think about their children, and they kind of help with this employment transition. Well, when your child is studying abroad, when your child is maybe studying in Canada, you don't have that network. And here's what happens. Most of international students, when they start studying, they gravitate towards their cultural bubbles. When you see bubbles on the screen, I'll call them cultural bubbles. And these bubbles are actually very dangerous. They're very natural for students to enter. So that's very natural for Nigerian students to start hanging out with the fellow Nigerian students because they share culture, language, common understanding. And those bubbles becomes very dangerous because once you get into this bubble, it's very difficult to get in. It's natural for a student, for a parent to try to integrate into this cultural bubble, but there's not enough air in those bubbles, and those bubbles don't allow you to actually integrate into the Canadian society more broadly. And I would like to alert you that it's natural, trying to get to be part of this bubble, but in practice, it's very, very dangerous. The problem here is that international students lack two things. They lack the network, right? And because they don't have the knowledge, if they don't know people in Canada, right? And either you as parents may not necessarily have the network in Canada to facilitate that transition from the school to the workforce. And then in the context of going through the academic program, there are career development centers who help you develop skills, but usually students are not proactive. And my advice to you would be to be proactive, to build those networking skills. So the problem here is that students don't have the network and the networking skills because they put too much emphasis on getting good grades and not on developing the network and the networking skills. Because without the network and the networking skills, it would be very, very difficult to land a part-time job, internship, and most certainly without a part-time job or internship experience in Canada, Canadian work experience, it would be very, very difficult to land a full-time job that it's a good fit, that pays well as well. And so I wanted to share kind of an example here of Shahnoza, one of the students that I worked with for a number of years. She came from Kazakhstan. She's someone I met at one of the study abroad fairs. And over the years, I was very privileged to work and to coach and to mentor her, where she actually landed her full-time job even before she graduated, because she followed my framework, she followed my advice. And it's very gratifying to see students who come from emerging countries, emerging economies, and then ultimately, by following a proven framework, a proven path, actually land the job of their dreams. And I'm very grateful for Shahnoza to have been working with her for a number of months now and guiding her through this path. So now let's go to the secret number 3. That's the last secret for today. And there are a few more bonuses I'll share with you. Even if your child gets a job in the area of his or her studies, right? It does not mean that he or she will earn enough for a comfortable lifestyle and get permanent residence in Canada. Okay, let me repeat this one more time. Even if your child gets a job in the area of his or her studies, it does not mean that he or she will earn enough for a comfortable lifestyle and get a permanent residence in Canada. Well, let me talk about this in more detail. So international students in Canada pay 4 times more than Canadian students for several reasons, but that's the reality. You pay 4 times more than Canadian residents. While on the exit, by the time the students actually exit the school, right, they earn 21% less, or on average $9,000 than Canadian graduates, which is quite alarming. So international student parents, the parents of international students, pay 4 times more, but their children earn 21% less, or $9,000 less than Canadian graduates. And so you're probably wondering, well, why does this happen? Well, the reason it happens is that, let me talk to one more statistic so you're aware. And so on average, international students earn $60,000 5 years after graduation, okay? So there are 2 things. One, you pay 4 times more, but when you graduate, you earn $9,000 less than Canadian graduates, which is concerning. And then on top of this, 5 years after graduation, on average, international students earn $60,000, right? So here's the thing. The problem is that international students are selling themselves short. And that's a big problem. International students have a lot of assets, a lot of knowledge, a lot of value that they bring to the employers, but they actually don't know how to sell them. And so when you don't know when you don't know how to sell yourself, or when you're selling yourself short, you obviously will end up earning less than a Canadian graduate, and this is on top of the lack of network and networking skills, and this is on top of the fact that you need to learn how to present yourself. You need to learn how to build a network, how to build the networking skills, and also how to sell yourself in the job market. And so from my experience, and this is something I share in the book, I'm very glad that actually when I look at these statistics and when I look at my employment outcomes 5 years after finishing university, I actually earned 95,000 Canadian dollars, which is actually 60% more than an average university graduate. And the reason I did it is in the way I did it, I share it in detail in my book, so other students, other parents can be prepared to be successful on this international student journey, and they would not, even though they graduate, they get a job in the area of their studies, right, which is great. It does not mean that they earn enough for a comfortable lifestyle and they can stay permanently in Canada, okay? And so one last thing I wanted to share as a bonus here. Many parents say, well, Boris, how can I, as a parent, prepare my child or children for success in future studies, work, and life? Well, I'd like to share one last formula with this. And the formula that I teach, the formula that I apply and that I work with my students, right, with the families I work with. And so the three elements of being prepared for studying abroad to being prepared for studying at university overseas, or maybe even studying at a university in Nigeria, as a matter of fact. But I think the three key things that are very critical. One is that, what does prepared mean? Well, prepared means you need to have a self-direction. What does self-direction mean? Self-direction means is an ability to set goals for yourselves and pursue these goals. That's self-direction. Second thing, and it's important to be self-directed independently. It's important to work with the parents and have this parents' guidance, but your children ultimately need to have their own self-direction. The second thing is curiosity. Curiosity is innate in the children, but over the time as children mature to become adult, that curiosity might depreciate. I mean, even though we are naturally curious, over the years, this curiosity might diminish. And so it's so critical, in order to be prepared to be successful in your studies, is to have this sense of curiosity and being always wondering to find out how do things work, because that's ultimately the benefit of going through a traditional educational program. And finally is a sense of purpose. So what does the sense of purpose mean? It's the understanding what's your why. And what's your why, knowing your why, it's something that gets you up in the morning, and this is something that gets you from point A to point B, right? Knowing your why. And so the three things to being prepared for studying abroad, for entering university from high school, it's having a self-direction, curiosity, and a sense of purpose. So what did we learn today? Well, we learned three secrets, just to summarize. And you learned two formulas. You learned a formula to what it takes to be prepared for the studies abroad. You learned a formula of what's my success formula, and then you kind of uncovered the three secrets. And the three secrets are: even if your child gets into a school of his or her choice, it does not mean that he or she will graduate. Even if your child graduates with excellent grades, it does not mean that he or she will get a job. And finally, if your child gets a job in the area of his or her studies, it does not mean that he or she will earn enough for a comfortable lifestyle and get a permanent residence in Canada. Well, we are almost out of time, and I think it can be quite overwhelming. I speak fast. There is a lot of information that is kind of being presented to you. Some of this can be new, and so it can feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, and it's completely fine. But I wonder whether for you, for the attendees of this masterclass, whether so far today's training was valuable. I would love to, I'll give you a 1 second to think about it, maybe kind of give a thumbs up if things that I've shared with you in today's training was valuable. Okay, so I think it's fair to say that there was value that you heard. And well, my mission in life is very simple. My goal for this seminar was very simple. It's to educate you, to share the things that I've learned, so you're better equipped to go and study abroad, to send your child to study abroad, to invest in that education. But my overall mission is something that I kind of stated in this book, right? This book is dedicated to current, future, and past international students, as well as their parents. There is a dedicated chapter here for parents, where I give advice to parents about how to set and manage boundaries with their children. And I do want to have parents and students to be really, really equipped with this journey, because this journey is not for everyone. And the best thing you can do is being prepared, is to educate yourself and definitely invest into this wonderful transformative opportunity of going and studying abroad. And for all of you who are part of this masterclass, Wendy and I have prepared a special offer, a special opportunity to learn more, to stay in touch. And I would invite you to go to this dedicated link, which is startrightbook.com/ebook1 FPR equals the intentional parents. That's the link which would allow you to access Start Right Book, which comes with a special access to the portal as well as a private community, just for a price of ladder. So just for $4.75, you can get this book. I'm sure you found a lot of value from this masterclass, but I am even more convinced that there are frameworks, and there is more stories and more knowledge. And this guide, the Start Right guidebook, can be extremely helpful for you as a parent, and also for your child to understand what to expect from the international student experience. Okay, so I think we have some time for questions, Wendy, and I would love to answer any of your questions or any of the questions of our wonderful audience we have today. Okay, so let me jump here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Boris. That was absolutely so valuable. So if you have any question, you can share right in the comment section. Boris, please, you can also help us share the link, so that parents will be able to see the link to be able to get this book. Boris made an offer to the intentional parents to get the book at a discounted rate. So you can use that link to go get the book, Start Right, so that you can learn more about what you need to do as regards sending your child abroad. It's something that too many of us do not see as something we need to learn. I'm a believer of learning everything that I do. So, which is one of the reasons why I saw that this was one very valuable class that we all must have. So I'm going to share these details right in the comment section, so that we can see where we can get the book if we want to. So if you're catching a replay, you can just type and say replay, and you can get a copy using this using this link. I've shared it right in the comment section. Startright.com ebook /the intentional parent. So if you're an intentional parent, it means that you have access and you have this discount. So I will urge you to go right, use that link, and get a copy of the book. All right, I'm going to get mine sent, all the way, so that at least I can learn more. I like to learn. Like I said, I'm a believer of learn it all, learn everything that you need to learn. I can't seem to see any questions that are here. I'm just hoping that all our questions were answered. But Boris, can you also share your details with me in the private chat, so that I can also share with parents in case they want to reach out to you, and also get some of the things that you've listed here. I know you talked about agents. I know you talked about school and all that. So maybe parents who are confused on exactly what they need to do for their children who are going to school abroad. So if you send me that link, I'll also share it here and also share it via email so that parents will also get to see what they can do to learn more and also reach out to you, all right?
I think,
So that they will be able to take it from
yeah, what I think is a
there.
great thing
Okay.
that works with what works very well with parents I work with is that today you just got a taste of what I teach and how I teach. I have a very well developed curriculum that I teach to students and parents depending on the level they are at. And so when you go to this link, and you go through the page, you will see some testimonials from some Nigerian students as well. But after you get a copy of your book, you will have access to my calendar. And on this calendar, you can book a consultation with me, and we can talk one-on-one, and I would gladly answer any of your questions about how to pick the right agents, how to pick the right school, how to parent, and so on. And so that's usually how I found the most effective way to unpack this and to more is through a one-on-one Zoom conversation. And so you have that opportunity. You will have access to my calendar. As soon as you get a copy of the ebook, the next page would be for you to schedule a one-on-one coaching call with me, and you would be able to do it right away.
Awesome. All right. So if you want to have a one-on-one coaching session with Boris, just use this link, get a copy of the ebook, and that gives you straight access to Boris for everything that you need to know as regards sending your children abroad. And I think we've come to the end conclusion of this conversation. Boris, what will be the last word you want parents to hear as we sign out today?
I think well, first and foremost, I want to thank you, Wendy, for giving me this opportunity. I think it's very important to be sharing quality information, actionable information with parents who are intentional. I know that having intention and having a desire are very important characteristics of successful parenting, right? And so I definitely appreciate this opportunity to share a few things of what I know. And I know many parents from Nigeria have this aspiration of sending their children to study abroad. And I think it's certainly an experience that will fully transform your child, but also will fully transform you as a parent. Because listen, it takes courage, it takes guts to send your child across the ocean for better life and better opportunities. And I admire my parents for doing, for making this choice for themselves and choice for me, right? I didn't have much vote, and I encourage you to really consider and to make that investment in investing in international education into your child. And it may not necessarily mean actually getting on the plane and traveling. Maybe right now it's not feasible, but accessing the knowledge of somebody who is abroad. For example, somebody like who is myself, right? I know I'm Canadian, I know Canadian system, I know how it works. And so you have the benefit of accessing my knowledge, years of experience through this book, through one-on-one conversation, through my coaching programs, through my through my other programs. And so I would love to stay in touch. I would love to continue to deliver value to this audience. And yes, those would be my final thoughts today.
Thank you so much, Boris. We're definitely going to have you come back here again because this conversation is a continuous one. So please kindly use that link right here. As an intentional parent, you have access to the discount that Boris have offered everyone who attended this masterclass. If you're catching a replay, just put #replay and then put your comments. You can also write in the comment section what you have learned, what is your takeaway today from this conversation. Thank you so much. We'd like to keep to time. It's just 1 minute to 8. Thank you so much, Boris, for being here. Like I said, we like to keep to time. We like to do timely so that people will be able to go back to all the things that they need to do. All right, it's 8 o'clock. Thank you so much, everybody, for being with us this evening. We're going to continue the conversation in the comment section. Ask your questions. Boris will be able to respond to you once you use that link, and I will also respond to you if you have further questions on this. Thank you so much, and do have a good evening.